Warm greetings to one and all, and welcome to the module on organizing. In the previous lecture, you learned about planning. In this lecture, you will be understanding more on organizing and on organizations. Organizing, which we are going to learn now, is the process which comes next to planning. In the case of planning, we decide about the task to be done in the future. But in the case of organizing, we decide on the ways and means of achieving what has been already planned. For instance, it was planned that we will start a Balwadi in 6 months' time. The task of the project head is then to identify and assign various tasks involved in it and to devise the structure of duties and responsibilities so that the objective can be achieved. Few things have to be kept in mind while we are in organizing mode. They are identifying task, grouping the task, defining and determining who will do what, establishing supervisory relationship among various job positions, determining policies, rules and regulation in respect to the project. People who perform various tasks in the organization must have a solid understanding of what organizing is all about. This will help them to be effective workers. As we proceed along in this lecture, we will also be discussing about organizations and organizational structure as well. The learning outcomes of these modules are: firstly, to help the learner understand the basic features of organizing, organization and organizational behavior. Secondly, to learn the foundational principles of organization, namely delegation of responsibility, decentralization and authority relationships. What is organizing? Organizing is the specific grouping of people to conduct various activities in the organization. Organizing increases productivity and reduces duplication of work. Organizing facilitates growth and helps in diversification of activities through clear division of work. Organizing also provides for optimum use of technical and human resources. Organizing is therefore a multi-step process. It starts with identification of activities, grouping of activities, assigning responsibilities, granting authority and establishing relationships. In the first stage of organizing, the manager tries to find out the activities to be conducted. For example, in a Balwadi program, the activities are related to teaching, related to administration, related to supportive work, related to fundraising, etc. Once these activities are identified, then they are grouped. For example, in the Balwadi program, specific job positions like teacher, assistant teacher, meals organizer, helper, promotional worker, coordinator, etc. are then created and specific tasks are assigned to these individuals who excel in this particular role. On the basis of responsibilities given to these specific individuals, they are also given necessary authority to ensure effective performance. Finally, a reporting relationship is also established so that everybody in the organization knows exactly to whom he or she should report to. Thereby, a structure of relationship is established. For example, the assistant teacher reports to the teacher. By doing so, relationships become clear and delegation is facilitated. What is organization? Organization is the establishment of formal structure of authority through which the work is subdivided, arranged, defined and coordinated for a definite objective. Organizations are deliberately created by human decisions for the purpose of accomplishing the goals. Hence, goal accomplishment is the important or the vital aspect for which the organization is created in the first place. There are two types of organization. They are formal and informal organizations. A formal organization refers to a structured organization which has a proper organizational hierarchy, proper reporting relationships, etc. Informal organizations usually have informal network type of working relationships. We will learn about these in detail. Formal organizations. Formal organization refers to a strict pattern of connection among departments and individuals to achieve certain tasks or goals. In formal organizations, roles are clearly spelled out. So each person knows who he or she is supposed to report to and what he or she is supposed to do. In a formal organization, the staff also knows whom to take order from, what are the rules, what are the policies, what are the work procedures, and how things should be conducted when. Thus, formal organizations promote order and facilitate planned and controlled function. What are informal organizations then? Informal organizations represent natural grouping of people in work situations. In fact, most of the informal organizations such as social movements come into being of the limitations of the formal structure. Informal organizations are many in number and variety of them are available in different sectors. They differ in the purpose, structure, etc. Now that each organization has its structure, this idea is clear to you. Now we will move on to what is organizational structure. Organizational structure is available in any formal organization. It is the formal network of job positions and authority relationship in an organization. Organizational structure serves two basic purposes. One, it regulates the influence of individuals on the functioning of the organization. Two, it helps in setting a framework for the use of authority and facilitates better decision making. The most important components of organizational structure are departmentalization, job specification, job description, and line of command or line management. We will learn about these concepts in detail now. Departmentalization. What is departmentalization? Departmentalization refers to the process of grouping the functions such as administration, fundraising, program management, etc., and relating them to each other. Thus, departmentalization is the art and science of dividing an organization into smaller units or departments. The second concept in this regard is job specification. Job specification is a process of describing how the job is going to be done in the best possible way. It is an important part in manpower planning in each organization. Technically speaking, job specification is the formal specification of employee characteristics and qualifications required for a good performance of defined duties and tasks comprising a specific job or function. The next concept is job description. Job description is closely related to job specification we discussed right now. It is a detailed statement of duties and tasks delegated to a specific job. For example, when a person is recruited, the job description of the concerned position is made available to the incumbent. This helps the person to understand the responsibilities of the incumbent and the authority delegated to the person. Thus, job descriptions are used for the purpose of recruitment, placement, training, and wage setting. The final concept in this regard is line management. Line management is the art of managing different departments or functions by designated officials. It is usually a second line leadership process in most organizations. Rather than the CEO managing the entire staff, the line managers such as the fieldwork manager, research manager, communication manager or the office manager are assigned specific tasks or functions and are answerable to the chief of the organization for their particular function. This is called line management. Now we are going to understand the foundational principles of organization and organizing. There are three principles in organizing an organization. They are delegation, decentralization and authority relationships. We will start with delegation. Most of you may have studied in a school or a college, I guess, at some point in your life. You may have noticed that your principal does not do all the tasks by himself or herself. She is ably assisted by an office superintendent, bursar, vice principals, head teachers, physical education directors, etc. You may be asking a question, can't the principal manage everything? No is the answer. It is really difficult on the principal to complete all the tasks by herself or himself. Hence, he or she appoints others to do the work in a formal way. It means that the principal assigns some of the work to his or her subordinates and gives them authority and autonomy to carry on the work. At the same time, he or she makes them accountable. This process of entrustment of responsibility and authority to the other person and creation of such accountability relationship for betterment of the performance is known as delegation. There are three elements in delegation, namely assignment of responsibility, granting authority and creating accountability. Assignment of responsibility is also known as entrustment of duties. Some duties are performed by the individual himself and the other part is assigned to subordinates to perform. This is called assignment of responsibility. Granting authority refers to the official powers and job description allotted to the individual to carry on a particular task. For example, if the chief executive officer of an organization is away on a tour or on vacation for a month or so, he or she nominates a senior person to be the acting CEO. Then, in that case, he or she must also be granted the full authority to take decisions. This is also very important, otherwise it will become a farce. Creating accountability, the third element, refers to the obligation for the person who holds the responsible position to ensure that the work is done. In other words, the delegatee is fully answerable to his or her superior for the performance of the task assigned. Thus, delegation improves accountability and skills of the employees and help the organization to perform better. The second principle of organization is decentralization. Decentralization refers to the process of delegating authority to all levels of management, right from your international or national level work to your work at the village or the taluk level. This shifts the power to take decisions to the grassroots level itself. For example, if there is a problem in the local community where the NGO is working, the village level staff is empowered to act immediately. So, decentralization reduces the workload of the head of the organization. It motivates the employees to give them more autonomy. It also helps the employees to take quick and appropriate decisions at their level. Thus, the head of the organization is freed from these routine, mundane jobs so that he or she can concentrate on the mission and plan for the growth of the organization. The third principle of organization is authority relationships. As we discussed earlier, when a CEO gives certain work to a worker, he or she should also give the necessary authority to carry on the activity. Otherwise, he or she will not be able to do so. For example, if the chief executive officer of an NGO asks the coordinator of a particular program to monitor the project executives or the people who execute the program, but does not intimate the authority formally in a meeting, then the project executives will not take the coordinator seriously. Authority relationship is of two types, namely line authority and staff authority. Line authority is the authority of the boss over the immediate subordinates. For example, take the mental health clinic. The chief psychiatrist in the mental health clinic has line authority over the clinical psychiatrist, and the clinical psychiatrist on the other hand has responsibility and authority over the assistant clinical psychiatrist. So, line authority is the right of the chief psychiatrist to issue orders and see that these orders are also carried forward and carried out by his or her staff. In fact, chief psychiatrist is delegated this responsibility by the director of the clinic himself or herself. Thus, line management or line manager gets the authority from his supervisor or superior and shares it with his or her subordinates. Staff authority is the advisory power given to a senior staff for a particular purpose. For example, when the work of the chief psychiatrist increases, a staff officer is appointed to help him. The job of the staff officer is to give advice, information, suggestion and guidance. The staff officer does not have final authority over people. However, the advice can be accepted or rejected by the line managers. The staff authority refers to the responsibility and authority of the individual to provide advice and services to the line managers. This brings us to the end of the lecture. Let's do a small recap. We have learned that organizing is a specific grouping of people to conduct various activities in the organization. Organization is the establishment of formal structure of authority through which the work is subdivided, arranged, defined and coordinated for the defined objectives. Organizational structure is a formal network of job positions and authority relationships in an organization. The principles of organizations include delegation, decentralization and authority relationships. Hope you liked the lecture. Thank you and see you in the next module.